Look here, Colorado, somebody's already got it up. 1996 to 2011, and then starting in 2024, it looks like your boys are coming back. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You'll not be disappointed. Also, the like button too, and follow on Twitter. Twitter fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. And you know what? I actually literally just had a conversation with my friend the other day. I was like, dude, you know the big thing about July kind of sucks for college football content creation, NFL content creation, just content creation in general. People are outside, there's not much going on. And then all of a sudden something ginormous dropped. But first, before we go over what ginormous dropped, I want to go take you through a really perplexing article that didn't make a lot of sense here. And again, it will make more sense as we go through it. But this story came out, and all my friends were like, what the hell? We've gone over this multiple times. Why are they talking about it now? Apparently, there was information that we needed to know about. Let's go to that weird article first, and then the big article later. So the first one here is from Outkick.com. UNLV and Boise State to the Pac-12. Dan Patrick thinks it might be possible. July 13, 2023, so about 2 weeks ago. And again, we're sitting here thinking, what the hell? We've talked about this before. Again, as a Boise State fan, I do my best to keep it out of there. I want to make sure we just report what's going on. But I'm like, dude, we've talked about this before. The Pac-12 doesn't like Boise State. Their academic profile isn't where it needs to be as of right now. They're improving it. They're doing what they can. But again, it just is not there. I don't know why they're talking about this. But again, remember here in conference realignment, anytime you have, basically in anything, you have contingency plans. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? What happens if this happens? And so on. And again, there's been rumors for absolute months, that Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah, the four quarter schools, are going over from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Now, this would be an unprecedented move, considering the fact that no team has ever left the Big 12 and gone back. No team has ever done anything like that. And it hasn't happened with the Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, anybody like that. It's never happened before. And again, we saw those four corner schools. We heard Utah kind of was out. I haven't really heard much about Arizona State. Arizona, there's been some murmurs, but not a lot here. And Colorado happens to have the most, fuel behind that fire, but we didn't really see anything solidified. However, Pete Thamel dropped a bomb yesterday, and it's this guy right here. Pete Thamel, sources, Colorado is in discussions about a move to the Big 12, and the school has just completed a board meeting and scheduled another for tomorrow to discuss the move, tomorrow being today. The Big 12 is also holding a president's meeting tonight where there's expected to be an expansion update. Oh my God. And as a matter of fact, that was the report, and that absolutely blew up across the board. And then Brett McMurphy knocked it out of the park with this next tweet. So we're already moving really, really fast. It says Colorado is leaving the Pac-12 to return to the Big 12 in 2024. Our sources told Action Sports Network. Colorado will receive a full Big 12 share. Remember here, we had talked about this before in terms of a pro rata addition, meaning that ESPN will automatically increase the fee from the Pac for the addition of a Power 5 team. Colorado is a Power 5 team they're adding in, so they'll automatically get that full share. I'm guessing they're probably already negotiating that with Fox, who want to negotiate their portion as well. But again, it says here, Buffs left because of Big 12 stability and Pac-12's uncertainty, sources said. Announcement coming Thursday, a.k.a. today. And although I'm not always correct, I am a man of my word, and I will make sure I give a mea culpa when it deserves to be a mea culpa. I had this tweet out here that was very, very popular, 18,000 impressions, no big deal. But anyways, it says one of the big issues is that Big 12 Twitter has been fed that they will get Arizona or Colorado. If they end up getting Boise State, it will feel like a huge letdown. The question here from Barstool Big 12, would Broncos be a good fit in the Big 12? They've done a couple of these. Would Boise State be? Would South Florida be? Would Memphis be? All the kind of the first four out from conference realignment for the Big 12 last time. And I basically said this, and a bunch of people said, oh yeah, no, definitely not. They're not going to be added. And I said, you are correct. Arizona and Colorado are not going to the Big 12. Ha, ha, ha. Well, it looks like July 17th, we're a little over a week later, and he says one down. This guy right here from UCF, he's a big fan, and he might be right, man. I credit where credit is due, and call yourself out when you call yourself out. I might be wrong, and Colorado might already be on the way to the Big 12, back from the Pac-12. The return to relevance is unbelievable. And you think about this back in the day, again, remember here, June 10th, 2010, 11:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Colorado leaves the Big 12 for the Pac-12. And again, you see the fact that this is just one of many moves here. You see the fact that, I'll let you know here something, if you don't know much about Big 12 and Big 12 Twitter, is that Big 12 has been kind of jerked their around a lot here. They've had kind of an unstable conference for many years. And again, I'll let you know why. There's one big reason why. It's because there's one team, Texas, that's no longer there that was kind of moving them around in weird directions. And again, this is not the first time that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have gone at it in conference realignment before. Not just Colorado leaving the Big 12 for the Pac-10. Again, Pac-10, they eventually got Colorado and Utah to be the Pac-12. It happened again here as well, almost. Boom, a year later, sources, Texas and OU in active Pac-12 talks. Texas, OU, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech all heading over to the Pac-12. It almost happened. But again, and this is the weird thing, it didn't happen because of the Longhorn Network. A bunch of those teams left because of the Longhorn Network. As much as it's kind of weird to say, the Longhorn Network is going to come back and repay the Big 12 fans who were there after the tumultuous situation with all those teams leaving. But again, it cost them the additions of OU, Texas, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech to the Pac-12. So again, in a weird way, although it hurt you when they left, it's kind of re-solidified you guys nowadays because, again, a lot of teams have left, but it looks like one of them's coming back. If you come over here to the Big 12's Wikipedia page, you can see the fact that there's this membership here. First of all, Colorado, Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, they lost those 4 schools, and then they lost Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma and Texas were actually voting to prevent expansion, and then they voted to go to the SEC in the same way that USC and UCLA voted. They voted to, nix expansion in the Pac-12, and then they left for the Big 10. But you see this. This is very interesting. The fact they lost all these schools to the Pac-12, Big 10, SEC, SEC, and SEC. However, look here, Colorado, somebody's already got it up. 1996 to 2011. And then starting in 2024, it looks like your boys are coming back. Now, remember here, and again, this is so unprecedented because we have never seen this happen before, if this is actually true, that a team leaves a conference and comes back because of what's happening there. Remember here, Ivan Mizell had this video out. I'm going to include this in the description too, where he basically said, realignment, every school that we have seen realigned to make more money has not been as relevant. And we see this with Colorado in many different ways. Again, there's also some issues as to whether or not Colorado's actually made some more money from the football side of things, which and the sports side of things, they actually probably haven't in that instance. So you're thinking why did Colorado do this? There's a couple different reasons. A couple of them were academic, quite literally academic reasons. They fit better in the Pac-12 in terms of, what your conference spends on this versus that, your academic goals, things like that. I know a lot of people in conference realignment kind of throw that away, but it's pretty easy to see, Colorado had a couple of benefits from going to the Pac-12, a couple of things, including research funding. And again, we see this right here. So this is a 10-year summary from the research. And again, we see back to 2006, it was $256 million. And then going all the way up until 2022, it was 658. So 256 to 658, $400 million in 15 years. That is absolutely a ginormous growth in terms of research dollars and grants and things like that. With that, you see the fact that Kansas, during the same time period, 2006, a little over about $200 million, and then 2022, $300 million. And again, is this an apples-to-apples comparison? No, there's certain things that are going to be included in some and certain and not. You could definitely tell that the Colorado Buffaloes have benefited in some way. However, it looks like they're at the point where they're like, is it really worth it anymore? And they said no, and they're ultimately, it looks like they're trying to leave. So within that reasoning, and again, you saw the fact there was some expansion in terms of research dollars and things like that. It did not materialize to the point to where they cared as much. The reason I'm being behind leaving, if it does come to that, athletic reasoning it just never really materialized. We're going to be in LA, we're going to do this, we're going to have access to all that kind of stuff. Whatever academic increases will be made up for elsewhere. That's what they're thinking at this point. Because again, you're like, why would we jump over, $5 million more per year to lose a couple $100 million per year or whatever that situation is? It seems like they're like, if we stayed in the Big 12, would that really change? They say not much. I also mentioned LA there. First of all, they're like, yeah, we're going to have huge access to LA. Not anymore. USC and UCLA are both leaving the conference. So the benefit of joining is like, well, what are we doing here? I mean, if they add San Diego State, that's close. It's still 90 miles away. It's kind of a weird spot there. This will drastically cut down on their travel. Every single player, every single team, I should say, in the Pac-12 that isn't a four-corner school, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, or Colorado, every single one that isn't one of those four is a 1,000-mile trip for them to go through. There are multiple. If we talk about Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, those are way, way closer. They're going to play those much more often in addition to BYU. So again, for those schools, other than those far ones are thousands of miles. Many of their conference games are going to be a lot closer. And again, that's every single sport. They're going to save a ton on expenses there. And again, expenses matter. I know they don't matter to USC and UCLA, but that's because they're part of a $1 billion deal. The Big 12 isn't there, but again, they offer them a lot more structure in that realm. And then also, big reason why they're leaving is solid leadership. Brett Yormark over George Kliavkoff. I mean, you can see it just because George Kliavkoff, he just seems like he's just putting foot in mouth all the time. He said this the other day, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So for some reason, last Friday, Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff says the longer we wait for the media deal, the better our options get. Unfortunately, it looks like that's the opposite thing because Colorado's over here like, oh, you're taking forever. We know what we have over here. We're going back. We're going to save on travel. We'll figure out the academical situation. We're going back because you're taking too long. Again, could Washington, could Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, Stanford, can they wait? Probably. Whereas Colorado's got the option. They can leave. And again, there's a lot of good things about the Big 12. Looks like they are doing it. All right, the next questions here, and a couple of these are really, really good questions that we're going to go through. The next questions are, the Big 12 will not stay at 13 teams. We know that. Who do they add? Does this put a nail in the UConn-Gonzaga rumors? Is that previous report of Boise State and UNLV to the Pac-12 a thing now? What happens to the Mountain West? A lot of things there. Again, the Big 12, who they're adding, there's a lot of questions there. Jason Shear says, think outside the box here. Jason here says, respectfully, Washington State and Oregon State aren't attractive enough for full Big 12 shares. Stanford and Cal don't even know they have athletic departments. Think elsewhere. The rumor, he says, and again, it was a rumor, it was speculation here. Washington's probably solidified in there. I think he thinks that Arizona wanted to wait for Colorado to move. Arizona still is a possibility. Utah, I think, is solidified in the Pac-12. Arizona State, I believe, is too. But again, that leaves Oregon. Oregon's an opportunity. Oregon is not going to be a Big Ten team. Okay, people just need to get that through their heads. The Big Ten's looking to the Southeast. The Big Ten's looking at Texas A&M, who's in the SEC, more than looking at Oregon. So think about that. If Jason Shear says that he might even go after Oregon, that's a really interesting thing there. Do I know if it's going to happen or not? I don't know, but this is speculation, but it is juicy speculation. I also want to make sure that we're clear about this right now. What is not going to be a thing? Okay, so here's the thing. I will say this. I want to make sure I give precedent to this kind of situation here because a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, Pac-12 is going to fall apart. Pac-12 is going to be dead in a week. Pac-12 is dead in a week. That's not how things don't die in a week. Okay, you don't say that. Okay, the Pac-12 completely falls apart with Oregon State and Washington State joining the Mountain West. That's what a lot of people will be saying in the next couple of days. That's not how this works. NCAA rules, for whatever those are worth, I know, state that as long as one team remains in the conference, then the autonomy status remains. And so it would be an absolute joke because then the Pac-12 would call up all the Mountain West teams, and let's just say Washington State stays. It would basically just be the Mountain West plus Washington State, but they would still retain autonomy status. That's the truth. That's what's going to happen here. So if that gets to this, nuclear situation where it's only, the Northwest, has been schools between Oregon State and Washington State. And again, I know they beat Boise State last year. No offense, Oregon State. You know what I'm trying to say, though. But again, if it gets to that point, they still would retain status. It's not going to fall apart. People don't know what fall apart means. Okay, if you say fall apart, you're not very smart in conference realignment. I just want to make sure we're clear about that. Now, the big thing here to talk about are the winners and the losers, and kind of somewhere in the middle. So the winners here, without a doubt, are the Big 12 fans, Big 12 Twitter. You've won. We've seen, all those memes of the Pac-12 dead because remember here, the Pac-12 looked like it had multiple chances to kill the Big 12. Big 12 fans got their feels a little bit, rightfully so. However, now it looks like they're returning the favor. Also, Colorado is a big win for them because they're like, listen, back to where we were. We get access to Texas a little bit more. I know that even if they added SMU, the Pac-12 did, they get more access to Texas now. This is absolutely a big win for them. And also a big win for USA and UCLA fans. They have to look at this and be like, dude, thank God we got out of that dumpster fire before this happened. The losers here, Pac-12 fans, it is what it is. You are losing a region. There is even if it's like, okay, well, Colorado sucks, and they have sucked for the last couple of years, it is still a hit. How much of a hit? That could be debated. We're going to see how people talk about, I actually saw a couple tweets that was like, San Diego State subbing for Colorado is a plus, not a negative. Listen, cool thing about Twitter, you can go out there and battle on that. Actually, now it's X. Cool thing about Twitter became X because this story happened, and people aren't even talking about it being X anymore because it's just what happened. It's so amazing. Also with here, a big loser in this whole situation was Memphis. Memphis was basically their only option is the Big 12, and the Big 12 looks like it's going west. They're expanding out west. So Memphis is like kind of in a weird spot here. Maybe if they want to get to 20, maybe if they want to get to 16, there's some hope there. But for the most part, it looks like they're going to be locked out. It really sucks because I know they're doing really, a lot of good things with their football program. And then UConn and Gonzaga, I don't know how this doesn't hurt them right now. UConn, at this point, like the football ad is a terrible ad. The basketball ad and the rest of the sports, it's weird. I wouldn't do that. Gonzaga, they said Gonzaga would make sense. The deputy commissioner of the Big 12 said Gonzaga would make sense if it was basketball only. They're not going to do that. So it's just, it sucks for them. And then somewhere I don't know how to feel about this as a Boise State fan. First of all, UNLV is that kid who's, listen, UNLV is that kid whose parents have a really nice pool. He's not really cool, but you're like, his parents got a pool. Let's go over there and hang out. That's what UNLV has. Boise State, they're working there on the way out their academics. They actually invest in their football program and things like that. So it's just, I don't know how to feel. I mean, worst comes to worst, nothing happens. You stay where you're at. But the best situation here, looks like the Pac-12 might be looking. Because again, they were mentioned before. You're like, why the hell are they mentioning those two teams now? It might be because they wanted to have a contingency plan just in case something happened. And one bowl game that I think is going to be one of the coolest non-New Year's Six bowl games coming up. And again, it's been playing here before. But this bowl game, man, this rivalry between the Pac-12 and the Big 12, it just keeps on cooking. The Alamo Bowl, remember here, the conference tie-ins are the Big 12 and the Pac-12 present. So this is absolutely nuts, man. If you think about this game here, down there in South Texas, they're going to be playing this game. Pac-12 fans come in, Big 12 fans come in. They've been going at it. So this game, first of all, I want this game no matter what to be. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but I want it to be permanently Pac-12-2 versus Big 12-2. Again, if they're not in the CFP. But again, if that's what's going to happen, I would love for this game to be like that because there's so much venom between these two conferences. All right, remember here, I said I didn't think it was going to happen. Colorado looks like they're making the move. Who's the next team? Where are we looking at? What happens to the Pac-12? Is Boise State and UNLV that weird rumor that, Dan Patrick had? Are they still in play for the Pac-12? I have no idea what to expect. What happens to Memphis? I feel terrible for Memphis. They're doing everything they can. But again here, all that matters here is that crap runs downhill. So if Pac-12 loses a team to the Big 12, Pac-12 takes from the Mountain West. Mountain West takes from the Big Sky Conference. The American takes from the Mountain West. I have no idea. There's a bunch of things that are going to happen here. Buckle up, man, because, again, it was a slow season for a little bit, but just about to get to August. Football season's coming up, and things are heating up. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Remember here, something that's crazy, too. 3 p.m. today, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, there is going to be a live update from the Colorado Board of Regents that they're actually going to post it online. You actually can watch it. It's absolutely crazy. I'm actually going to show you this right now. Literally, Stuart Mandel, ladies and gentlemen, a gift from the Realignment Gods. Tomorrow's CU board meeting will be live streamed at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am going to watch it, absolutely. So that, guys, there's so much going on. Remember, here, get in the comments and let me know what you think about this whole situation. Answer some of those questions, get around everything like that, and, man, we got some stuff coming up. But again, thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and follow on Twitter. I'll see you guys later. I am out.